Good afternoon. So you have decided to sit like this only for the whole year? You have decided to sit like in this manner for the whole year? Yes or no? No? We'll be starting with a new system. So today we'll start with the excretory system or the urinary system. Okay. Before exams, we are going to have only 1 or 2 classes. So it might not be included in the exam, but it is important in concern with the university exam. Shall we start? Yes? Okay. So basically, when we are talking of the excretory system, first we should have a clear idea or a basic idea regarding kidneys. Okay. What are their functions? Okay. Excretory functions and non-excretory functions. When the question is asked, write down the functions of kidney. Okay. So you have to be very much clear and precise that the kidney not only performs the excretory functions, but it also performs non-excretory functions. Okay. So point by point we will see the functions, write it down in detail. Okay. If the question comes, you have to write it in detail or enlist. Clear? So each PPT will show the functions, and kidney is the most important organ which is involved for homeostasis. If you remember homeostasis, then this is the most important organ. So how does it play its role and how it is controlling the other organs? Okay. First is excretion of metabolic waste products. Okay. As still I expect that this must be a basic idea that is clear, that what the kidneys are doing, they are excreting the waste products. Okay, metabolic waste products. From where they are excreting? Yes. They are not excreting from urine, they are excreting from blood. Okay, so the first line in round about 250 students answer key, the first line of 50 students will be urine formation from urine. Okay. It is not urine formation from urine, it is urine formation from the blood. Or to be more specific, it is from the plasma. So what is the composition of blood? Plasma and formed elements. Okay. So formed elements don't have any role in this, only plasma. So what percentage of the blood is plasma? So it's there in Guyton. I'll talk about Guyton only. Kindly check it. Okay. As I told you, you can download the Guyton, free download is available, and check the values for your MCQ. Kindly shut down or silence your mobile. Okay. So the first function is excretion of waste products, urea, creatinine, bilirubin and hydrogen. Okay. Now when we are talking of urea, from where it is coming? Non-protein nitrogenous substance. Okay. Next comes your creatinine from the muscle metabolism. Okay. Then comes bilirubin from the hemoglobin. So you should have the idea of weight of hemoglobin or weight of RBC. So from where the bilirubin is coming, and hydrogen ion. Hydrogen ion is responsible for what? pH. pH of blood is? You have different pH for arterial and venous blood. So be very specific, and what is the range? It is different for arterial and venous blood. So what is the pH for venous blood? After 1 week you are going to have your exam. 1 week? So 4 days. Please close these gates. Okay. Okay. Excretion of foreign chemicals like drugs. Okay. They get metabolized. Their lifespan is completed and they have to be degraded and removed from the body. So the urine or the kidneys are responsible for their removal. Food additives, chemicals, toxins, they are removed with the help of renal system or kidneys. Another important function is secretion, metabolism and excretion of hormones. When we are talking secretion, the two most important is renin, okay, and 1,2,5 dihydroxycholecalciferol and erythropoietic factor. Okay, we'll see in detail in the next slide. Okay, these are just the list. If the question comes of 2 marks, you can just show the list, and if it comes in detail, you have to give in detail, describe in detail. Okay, regulation of acid-base balance. Gluconeogenesis is formation of glucose. Okay, control of arterial pressure. Now it may be long term, it may be short term. When we are talking of long term, it is controlled by the regular removal or excretion of sodium and water. Okay, when we are talking of short term regulation, it is mainly controlled by the secretion of renin. Renin, angiotensin, aldosterone mechanism. Okay, and regulation of water and electrolyte excretion, most important function, and this also helps for maintenance of homeostasis. So when we are talking of excretion, then they are the functions related to excretion. So kidney has excretory function, it has secretory functions, okay, secretion of certain hormones, okay, it has homeostatic mechanism because it is controlling or regulating the balance of electrolytes and water. So excretory functions, non-excretory functions. Sometimes a short note comes, write a note on non-excretory functions of kidney. Okay, urea from the protein metabolism, uric acid from the nucleic acid metabolism, creatinine from muscle, and bilirubin from the hemoglobin metabolism. Clear? If you have to elaborate like this. If you are not remembering the whole text, at least write down the points, but they should be related. Okay. Excretion of foreign chemicals may be pesticides, additive, toxins, or drugs. Hormones produced, renal erythropoietic factor. Now, how is it produced? What is the stimulating factor for renal erythropoietic factor? So, what is the chain that is created? What is the flow chart? Hypoxia, what do you mean by hypoxia? Decrease in the oxygen concentration. Okay, so that is the stimulating factor. Okay, that stimulating factor asks and kidney to release this renal erythropoietic factor, which will ask the bone marrow to increase in the erythropoiesis, and the hypoxia will be corrected. But if a person is suffering from any renal ailment, disease, failure, maybe on dialysis, so this will not work and the person will suffer from anemia. Okay, you have to correlate it. The function is this, but in that case, if the function is not doing it physiologically or normally, what will be the action? Okay, so in some questions come in detail, you have to analyze the things. A scenario will be given and you have to analyze it. So you have to be very observant in small things. Okay, so this is the renal erythropoietic factor. 1,2,5 dihydroxy. This is the most important or potent hormone which is responsible for the calcium deposition, okay, and absorption of calcium through the GI system. This is the hydroxyl molecule is added in the kidneys to make it more potent or useful for the calcium absorption. Which are the hormones which are metabolized and excreted? They are the peptide hormones like insulin and angiotensin 2. Okay, this is the regulation of erythrocyte production. So whenever there will be any problem in the secretion of this, then there will be problem in the erythropoiesis. Okay, so in hematology practicals, whenever you are having the practical exams, the questions may be asked. So you have to remember from where it is getting secreted. What is the stimulating factor? Okay, and if it is not working properly, what is the end result? नींद आ रही है? Before lunch चाहिए तो? They form the actin form, and vitamin D is important in calcium and phosphate metabolism. Excrete acids. Now, you have studied respiratory system? Yes? Yes. If there is increase in the carbon dioxide concentration, okay, so which acid will increase in the body? Bicarbonic acid. Okay. Now, this is the only acid which is known as volatile acid. Okay. Sulfuric acid and phosphoric acid, they are known as fixed acids. If the volatile acid increases, it can be corrected by hyperventilation. But if there is increase in the fixed acid, okay, they cannot be removed by hyperventilation. So it is corrected with the help of excretory system, with the help of bicarbonate ions. Okay, so regulation of acid-base balance, another important function of kidneys. Clear? So we'll see in later classes in detail about the regulation of acid-base balance. But to keep a clear idea, they are responsible for the removal of fixed acid. And what are the example of fixed acid? Sulfuric acid and phosphoric acid, lactic acid. Okay, these are the fixed acids. Other than carbonic acid, they are the fixed acids. Okay, so they are removed with the renal or the excretory system. Gluconeogenesis, they synthesize glucose from the amino acid during the prolonged fasting. Regulation of arterial pressure, endocrine organs, renin-angiotensin system. Renin, it is released from the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Okay, it is responsible for the correction of blood pressure, but short-term regulatory mechanism. Okay, the whole mechanism, it is a lengthy question. Write a note on juxtaglomerular apparatus or short-term regulatory mechanism of blood pressure. Or it may be asked, write a note on renin, angiotensin, aldosterone mechanism. So in 3 different ways, the question may be asked, but the content of answer will remain same. Yeah. So prostaglandins, okay, and kallikrein kinase system. So they are responsible for change in the vascular tone. Regulation of water and electrolyte balance. Some of the important electrolytes which play an important role in homeostasis mechanism or the electrolyte balance are the sodium, water, potassium, hydrogen, calcium, phosphate. Now they have different mechanism for their regulation. If normal sodium intake is 30, okay, and if the intake increased 10 times, 300, okay, so the quantity has increased from 1 to 10-fold. Okay, increase in 10-fold intake of the sodium will be corrected within 2-3 days. It will take time. And how it will be corrected? By excreting excess of sodium and water. Because as we take excess of sodium in, we have to have excess of water. Okay, so that will increase the blood volume, fluid volume. So that has to be corrected. But how much time it takes? It takes 2 to 3 days for its correction. Clear? So this is corrected within 2-3 days. All these ions, they are regulated, but it takes time. But its regulation is most important. Okay? Prostaglandins का क्या रोल था? अपनी previous slide में आया था ना? Prostaglandins. Anybody has an idea of prostaglandins? Here, in case of this system, the prostaglandin A, it has the importance. Why? Because it is responsible for sodium reabsorption. Specifically over here, the which prostaglandin we are talking? We are talking of prostaglandin A. And what is the role? It is responsible for the sodium reabsorption. So blood pressure may be hypertensive, may be hypotensive. In both the categories, it has to be corrected. But what are the different mechanisms? There are a number of mechanisms, but when we are talking of kidneys, these are the things which are important for regulating blood pressure. Okay, sodium, water, hydrogen. Now, this is the structure of the kidney when we take a section. Okay, what's the weight of the kidney? It is 150 grams. Weight of a kidney is 150 gram. Size of the kidney is the fist, equivalent to the fist. They are present in the abdominal cavity retroperitoneally. Okay, and when we take a section of the kidney, what are the things which are seen? Okay, so now be attentive, क्योंकि अपन इसकी जो सप्लाई और सब देखेंगे ना, उसी को आप कोरिलेट कर सकते हो नेफ्रॉन में. Nephron is the structural and the functional unit, but how it becomes a structural and functional unit, that has to be clear. From where the branch of the afferent arteriole is coming, which artery or which arteriole is giving rise to which capillaries. अगर ये हमारा concept clear हो गया, then all the functions of the renal system will be clear. If anybody is not interested or they have some other work, they may leave the class. Okay, no worries. Okay, this is the hilum region. Okay, hilum, that is the indented portion of the kidney. It is bean shaped. This is the area where the renal artery, renal vein and the ureter. Okay, renal artery is coming, renal vein is going out and the ureter is coming out. So this is the area where the three structures are seen, and this is known as renal hilum. When we see the cut section of the kidneys, the outer portion appears us to be granular. Okay, and this granular outer portion is known as renal cortex. Okay, this appearing granular. ठीक है, granular दिख रहा है. Next to the cortex, we have which portion? Medulla. How does it appear? Pyramid. And striations. Striations seen? Okay. These are the striations which are seen in the medullary region. Okay. And this columns, okay, they appear as pyramids. Okay. So they are known as renal pyramids. Okay. Each pyramid joins to form minor calyx. 2 or 3 minor calyx join to form the major calyx. Major calyx leave or exit the urine into the renal pelvis. You have to be clear regarding the pelvis, hilum, okay, and from there the ureter is responsible for collecting the urine or sending it into the bladder. Now this is the renal artery. Clear? When it enters, इसका AC चल रहा है क्या? Okay, this is the renal artery which is entering, okay, through the renal hilum. Clear? Now the first branch which is seen when it is entering into the kidney is the segmental artery. Clear? Main is the renal artery coming from the aorta, abdominal aorta. Okay, इसकी जो क्लासिफिकेशन है, जो ब्रांचिंग है, वो सीक्वेंस में पता होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि इस रीनल सर्कुलेशन के ऊपर कम से कम 3 क्वेश्चंस बनते हैं. ओके, peculiarities of renal circulation, most important question which we see in our exam. Okay, so the concept should be clear. From the abdominal aorta, the renal artery is coming. This renal artery, when it is entering into the pelvis area, it becomes the segmental artery. When it is getting crossed in between the 2 pyramids, okay, it becomes the interlobar artery. Interlobar artery. Okay, what do you mean by renal lobe? Renal lobe is this structure in which the cortex and the medullary section is coming, showing one pyramid-like structure. So this is the renal lobe. In between the 2 lobes is the artery which is coming from the segmental artery. It becomes the interlobar artery. When it is going towards the cortex, it takes a turn. Okay, and this turn is known as the arcuate artery. When this arcuate artery goes towards the cortex, it becomes, the name of the artery is, yes, anybody? It becomes radiating artery. Now this radiating artery divides and results into afferent arteriole. Clear? So the story started from the abdominal aorta, renal artery, segmental artery, interlobar artery, arcuate artery, and finally into the radiating artery, and this radiating artery resulting into afferent arteriole. Clear? Now the renal circulation, why it is so peculiar? Because it is receiving 20% of the total cardiac output. How much is the 20% of cardiac output? 5 liter is total cardiac output. So 20% कितना हो गया? 1 liter? More than 1, I think. 1200 something. Okay, so it is receiving 20% of the total cardiac output supply, not because of its own function or requirement, but because for the cleaning or removing of the waste products. Okay. Elsewhere in the body, the capillary hydrostatic pressure is very less, but in case of renal, they have a dual set of capillaries, okay, and the hydrostatic pressure in the capillaries is 60 millimeters of mercury. Please remember it, as it will be recurred and used number of times. Okay, so the pressure seen in the renal capillaries, okay, especially the glomerular capillaries, is 60 millimeters of mercury. So we were reached as the afferent arteriole. Final branching of afferent arteriole is a tuft of capillaries that is known as glomerular capillaries. These glomerular capillaries, they end into another set of capillaries with the help of efferent arterioles. This another set of capillaries depend on the type of nephron we are talking of. Okay, there are two types of nephron depending on their anatomical position where they are placed. If they are placed cortically, it is known as cortical nephron. If they are placed near the medulla, it is known as juxtamedullary nephron. Clear? So these efferent arterioles give rise to another set of capillaries. In case of cortical nephrons, the set of capillary is known as peritubular capillaries. In case of juxtamedullary nephron, they are known as vasa recta. Clear? The nephron may be of two types, cortical or juxtamedullary. Depending on the nephron, the another set of capillary may be peritubular capillary or vasa recta. Peritubular capillary seen in the cortical nephron, vasa recta seen in the juxtamedullary. But they may also have a small proportion or portion of peritubular capillary, but majority is vasa recta in juxtamedullary nephron. Clear? Now this vasa recta or peritubular capillaries is joined to form the venules, okay, and again that is the radiating, then arcuate. Exception in case of the veins is they don't have any segmental vein. Okay, in case of veins, they don't have any segmental vein. Other than that, arcuate vein, interlobar vein, okay, renal vein, and then the exit. Clear? So the difference between the artery and vein is in case of segmental vein, which is not there. Clear? Now this whole system helps to regulate in electrolyte balance, water balance, blood pressure balance, okay, most important. So there will be taken separate classes regarding this and we'll talk about the system in detail. Yes, आज केवल introductory class है, इतनी heavy नहीं होगी कि आपको इस system से problem हो जाए. Just take it very light. Basic things should be clear because the question comes, draw a diagram of nephron. So they draw a diagram of neuron. ठीक है, न्यूरॉन और नेफ्रॉन में डिफरेंस है ना? पर एग्जाम में थोड़ा सा दिमाग घूम जाता है, घूमता है ना, वो पता चल जाएगा 4 दिन में. ठीक है, किताब खोल के क्या आप देख रहे हो, घर जाके खोलना इसको, है ना। क्या टाइम हो गया, 12:30 ही हुई क्या ना। अच्छा, केवल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ नेफ्रॉन, फिर अपन खत्म करेंगे, फिर नेक्स्ट में देखेंगे। इतना याद रख लोगे ना 15 दिन तो, क्यों, नहीं नहीं ऐसे नहीं, केवल नेफ्रॉन का डायग्राम अपन देखेंगे, नेफ्रॉन तो पढ़ के जाएंगे आज अपन। So when we are talking of the efferent arteriole, it results into the formation of tuft of capillaries that is known as glomerular capillaries. When we are talking of nephron, it is divided into two structures, renal corpuscles and renal tubules. What do you mean by renal corpuscles? And when we are talking of nephron exclusively, what are the parts? केवल नेफ्रॉन की बात करेंगे तो उसके अंदर रीनल कॉर्पस्कुल का ग्लोमेरुलर पार्ट हट जाएगा, ओनली द बोमेंस कैप्सूल एंड द रीनल ट्यूब्यूल। चलो बताओ कौन कौन से पार्ट होते हैं, खड़े होके भाई, हम भी खड़े हैं आधे घंटे से। हाँ, प्रॉक्सिमल कॉन्वोल्यूटेड, अभी अपन केवल नेफ्रॉन का स्ट्रक्चर पढ़ रहे हैं, पेरिट्यूबुलर कैपिलरीज, और ये तो अपन ने रीनल सर्कुलेशन का पार्ट दिखा था, ठीक है, बट ये इसके पैरेलल वर्क कर रहे हैं। क्लियर? व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग एक्सक्लूसिव ऑफ नेफ्रॉन, ओके, वी विल स्टार्ट द स्टोरी विद बोमेंस कैप्सूल। Okay, it is a funnel shaped structure, it has a lining visceral and parietal. Okay, so we'll see in detail the histology of this membrane, why it is responsible for specific or ultrafiltration, that is a separate story. Now the plasma will get filtered through this. Okay, आज केवल क्या है, इंट्रोडक्टरी है कि कोई चीज कैसे काम कर रही है, तो हमें स्ट्रक्चरल फंक्शन यूनिट नेफ्रॉन का पता होना चाहिए और उसके स्ट्रक्चर के लिए क्या चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है और वो कैसे कर रहा है। तो बोमेंस कैप्सूल इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द फिल्ट्रेशन पर्पस, फ्रॉम देयर द प्लाज्मा इज गेटिंग फिल्टर्ड एंड नाउ द फिल्ट्रेट is getting entered into the proximal convoluted tubule. Why we are calling it as proximal convoluted tubule? Because of the proximity, and second because of the convoluted turns it has, so it is known as proximal convoluted tubule near to the Bowman's capsule or glomerular capillaries. Now it results into the descending limb. Now this descending limb is thin in case of cortical nephron. Okay, so every part and every function changes with the positioning of the nephron, whether we are talking of cortical or whether we are talking of just a medullary nephron. So when we are talking of cortical nephron, there is thin descending segment, okay, loop of Henle and thin ascending segment. Okay, the thin nature changes near the distal convoluted tubules. Now near the distal convoluted tubules, they have a specialized cells, they are known as macula densa, that results into formation of juxta glomerular apparatus. There it gives rise to the collecting duct. Now the term is cortical collecting duct because this portion remains in the cortex, so it becomes cortical collecting duct. Okay, when it is getting back down towards the medulla, 2 or 3 collecting ducts join and form the medullary collecting duct. Okay, then number of these ducts join to form and excrete the urine into the renal pelvis with the help of renal pyramids through renal papilla. What is the rate of urine formation? What is the rate of urine formation? मार दोगी बच्चे 150। नॉर्मल यूरिन आउटपुट के हिसाब से आप उसको कैलकुलेट कर सकते हो, उसमें रटने की जरूरत नहीं है, पर वैसे होता है 1 ml per minute. That is the rate of urine formation. If you get a MCQ, it is 1 ml per minute. Okay, that is the rate of urine formation. Okay, this is the glomerular capillaries, Bowman's capsule, proximal convoluted tubules, distal convoluted tubules में macula densa, loop of Henle if it is coming towards the medulla. Okay, this is medullary and this is the main collecting duct. Okay, So sufficient for today? Yes? All the best. In your exams, you will get amphibian practicals in form of graph, in form of questions. Okay, you have questions after each experiment and instruments. So you should be able to identify the instrument, label the instrument, label the graph, okay, and answer the questions. Okay, what is the effect of temperature on the cardiogram? Effect of temperature, okay. So these are the type of questions you will get. So be prepared with amphibian and hematology both. Okay, give me a paper.